When it comes to ChatGPT, just using it as your go-to tool for writing, and trust me, I did this for way too long, means you're leaving massive quality and productivity on the table. So in this video, I'm giving you the complete breakdown of why I actually quit using ChatGPT as my main tool and what I switched to instead. We're going to go through the specific tools I now use every day, how they work together as a system, and why this shift completely changed the way I work. And by the end, you'll know exactly whether this kind of setup makes sense for you as well. Okay, so why did I walk away from ChatGPT as my default? Look, it's not that ChatGPT is that bad. It will do in a pinch, but most of what it offers is available in other tools and then some. So let's go through why I unsubscribed from ChatGPT over a year ago and why I've never gone back, which is saying something because I'm an influencer in this space, so I should have access to a lot of different tools, but I genuinely have never needed to use ChatGPT since I unsubscribed a year ago. Reason number one, the models aren't actually that good at writing. Now, this has been historically the case. We all know that OpenAI was the first one to really explode into the public consciousness when it comes to AI. Even though AI had existed in various forms for a long time, it was ChatGPT that really set the bar initially. And so because of that, a lot of people started out with ChatGPT and just assumed that that's, the one that they would continue using. But we quickly found out, even early on, that other models such as Claude were far more proficient at writing than any of the GPT models. This is true all the way back to GPT-4 and Claude 2, which now looking back on even Claude 2, the amount of progress that we've made since then has been incredible. But Claude 2 was definitely better at writing than GPT-4. And that is 100% the same today. If you look at the Claude models, if you look at a lot of different models, even Grok and some of those others, the writing quality tends to be a little bit better than the models coming from ChatGPT. I'll give you one example here. This is a short fantasy scene written with GPT 5.5 and another model called Aeon 2.0, which is an extremely inexpensive model. If we actually look at the pricing for these, GPT 5.5 is $5 per million tokens of input and $30 per million tokens of output, whereas Aeon 2 is only 80 cents for the input and $1.60 for output, which means you could write a novel that's almost 30 times the size, or at least like 20 times the size, using Aeon 2, and it would be the same cost as what GPT 5.5 would give you. So literally we're looking at like 20 books instead of one. But let's actually look at the prose itself. So this is what GPT 5.5 wrote. Lathan did not wait to be announced. The bronze doors of the throne room boomed against the inner walls as he shouldered through them, the sound rolling up into the vaulted dark like thunder trapped beneath the mountain. A lot of metaphors already. Every head turned. Courtiers in wolf fur mantles stiffened along the black stone pillars. A pair of hearth servants froze with armfuls of split pine. At the far end of the hall, beneath the great antlered crown of Varalden, his father sat unmoved upon the throne. King Storr looked as though the mountain had carved him and forgotten to give him blood. Another weird metaphor there that doesn't make too much sense. Father, Lathan said, voice raw from shouting at the gate, from shouting too late. A man died outside our walls tonight. The hall seemed to draw one long breath. All right, so clearly very wordy, and we're kind of in a very narrative distance from the character. We're sort of just being described what's happening. Let's look at what Aeon 2.0 gave us. The stone corridors of Valden's royal keep had never felt narrower than they did now. So already we're getting into the feelings of the character. Pressing in on Lathan as he strode through the throne room, the scream still echoed in his skull, that desperate raw sound of a man being torn apart while the city watched, while they watched, while he watched, held back by hands that had no right to touch him. The guards at the door saw his face and stepped aside without a word. Good, he didn't have words for them anyway. The throne roof opened before him, cavernous and cold, lit by a pale glow of lumen stones set into the walls. His father sat upon the seat of Varalden, a simple thing of dark granite, worn smooth by centuries of kings. Storr's face was weathered, his beard shot through with gray, his eyes carrying the weight of too many winters. Father, Lathan's voice cracked through the chamber like a whip. He didn't bow. Lathan, Storr's tone was measured, weary. I take it you're here about the gate. So already we can tell this is head and shoulders better than what GPT was giving us. Like, this is an independent model. This is a fine-tuned version of DeepSeek. Now, is it perfect? Of course not. There's still a few AI isms in there. There's, we've got an M dash here. I think it still kind of dwells too much on a metaphor and description in certain things, but you're clearly closer in terms of narrative distance to the character's mind. We're sort of getting into his head, seeing how he thinks. I didn't get into the dialogue too much more, but Aeon is really good at dialogue. dialogue. So this is just an example of how you can actually get far better writing out of other models than you can in ChatGPT. Reason number 2, most other chatbots have the same abilities, but with better models. And the two that I use most frequently are Perplexity and Claude. Perplexity started out as more of a Google search replacement and got really, really good at that one thing. And I don't use it for everything, which is why I do also carry a Claude subscription. In addition to the Claude models generally being better than the GPT models, I also find that the tool itself, so the actual chat interface and the way it thinks through problems and things, which is not just something that depends on the models, but actually depends on how they've sort of coded up the software, tends to be more thorough, tends to be more accurate, has fewer issues there. And one of the nice things about Perplexity that even the Claude subscription doesn't have is Perplexity allows you to have multiple models. So if I go into my Perplexity here, first of all, there's all kinds of different things that you can do, like deep research and model council. Some of these ChatGPT has, some it doesn't. You can also connect it to a whole bunch of things, and Claude is the same as well. But the thing I like about Perplexity the most is that I can change models, and they've got their own proprietary models. They've got GPT 5.4. On the max plan, you can get 5.5, but I don't have that. You also get Gemini, you get Claude, you get Kimi, you get this model from NVIDIA. There's more flexibility, not a ton of flexibility, but it's just nice to be able to say, you know what, I think this kind of problem is a better problem for Claude or for Kimi K2 or something like that. Or maybe you want to get a little bit more usage out of the model, so you switch to a more inexpensive model, that sort of thing. It's very nice to not be limited just to the GPT models. And for that matter, if you're using Claude, it's nice to not be limited to the Claude models as well. I like having variety, and so that's why I still keep Perplexity around, even though I do think that sometimes the Claude subscription tends to be a better powerhouse when it comes to actually getting work done. But when it comes to just like, making a search query or any sort of random research that I need to do, various things, I like to go to Perplexity for all of that. All right, reason number 3, if you want to write, you need to actually have a writing specific AI tool and not just a chatbot. Chatbots are great. They're incredibly simple and versatile. Because they're so simple, they are so versatile, but they're not really designed with writing in mind, especially creative writing. There's all kinds of extra consideration that you want to have in there, like making sure you have a dossier of your whole story, making sure you have your list of characters all fleshed out and that they're pulled into the story at the correct time so that the AI knows about like which characters are in the scene and all that. There's this whole workflow that a chatbot's just not super efficient at, which is why I always recommend, even if you have a chatbot already, that you also have a writing specific tool. Now there are 3 that I've talked about a lot on this channel. They are RaptorWrite, NovelCrafter, and SudoWrite. And I've used all 3. They're all good. They will all get the job done. And I haven't actually talked about them a lot recently because, for one, I've been developing my own tool, which was just released. And that kind of makes it so I can't actually 100% objectively talk about other tools. So I've just sort of stopped talking about a lot of them. And the other reason is that even before I developed my own tool, I'd actually quit all 3 of those in favor of automations, which is kind of like creating your own tool for your own purposes that can be writing specific or any other type of specific. And that brings me to reason number 4, which is that I kind of abandoned ChatGPT and a lot of these writing specific tools for automations, at least when it comes to the actual work I was creating with AI, the sort of the powerhouse elements of AI. Now, I've done various videos on this channel about using a tool called N8N, which is my preferred automation tool. It does have a fairly high learning curve to get started, and I have a whole series of videos about that. But you can have automations that go anywhere from a simple automation like this one, which all this does is it helps you create a style guide that you can then incorporate to make AI sound more like you, all the way over to a behemoth like this one, which has like, I don't know how many steps, which is tailored to a specific task that I do in my business. And you can have automations like this that are tailored to your writing. You can have them tailored to marketing, to helping you create marketing materials. You could have them tailored to managing your email, There's all kinds of different things that you can use an automation tool like this for. Now, like I said, this does have a pretty strong learning curve, which is why I took most of the writing automations that I've developed and included them in my own Story Hacker OS tool, because that allowed it to be a lot more accessible to a lot of people. But I still recommend that people learn an automation platform like N8N. Another one that's maybe a little simpler to use but not as powerful is called Make. That one's worth checking out, just because I feel like there are a lot of tasks that a automation could take off of your plate so that you don't have to worry about those things, and you can instead spend more of your time on those things that matter most to you. Now, if you want to know more about the tools that I do use and how I use them, I created the ultimate guide to go from zero to book in hand, which has everything you need to know about writing with AI, including the tools that I actively use today. So go check out that video right there, and I will see you in the next one.